All right. Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Tiffany Hall. I'm an alumni of TripleTen Software Engineering Program, and I'm a full stack engineer at Scholastic Inc., the world's largest publisher of children's books and a powerhouse in the digital education space as well. Tonight, I also get the privilege to be the host of TripleTen's November Data Science Code Pudding. I'm so glad to see that our teams could join us tonight live and in their homes, wherever they may be. But I also see that we have you guys at home watching. I see that we already have some very excited members watching that will be supporting our teams. Jasmine, looks like you've already got your team pulling strong for you. So let's talk for a minute about what this code pudding is, right? There's um, code jams and code puddings. You might be wondering what the difference is. One is we're jamming it out and it's a fight to the death, right? And there's lots to tackle. And then code puddings are my favorite because they're like a little dessert, you know? We've got our data science team students that is taking all of these data pieces and they're cleaning it and they're polishing it and they're making it like the patissier of desserts, right? So it's like a little pudding, like a little after dinner treat, right? Of course, it always leads me to my favorite one where these teams are all together and they are putting in the work. And I love a good pun. So, code pudding it is. So, let's talk about what that means. These are also super short timelines for our teams. Our teams got together last week and they have about 4 days, 5 days to put in the work that you're going to see tonight. Okay. So they, of course, are competing. They are competing for all the things that every person who is working in tech and with data wants, which is a 99% reliability factor. Kidding. Just a little data joke. The data students aren't laughing. So we're going to keep moving. Our teams are divided, and then we have given them a challenge. The challenge, of course, is to take the data, scrub it, do whatever they want with it, and build some sort of what we like to call kind of a narrative, right? A story that is going to explain the data to you. And tonight we are sticking with my favorite right now, which is the basketball world and working with archetypes. And so I'm very excited to see what archetypes the data has shaped with basketball. So first things first, we're going to tell you they've already done all of the work behind the scenes. Tonight, they're going to do the presentation. Then next week, our judges are going to be judging. We have judges judging the presentation for tonight, as well as a different set of judges looking through all of their code and their data and their storytelling. Our results for the winner are going to be posted on our Discord for our internal students, as well as on all of our socials on November 27th. There is not just a winner between the rubric pieces, but there's also an audience winner, audience favorite. And so people in the YouTube chat, I see you are a big fan of Jasmine. Keep voting there. It's like Dancing with the Stars, the data edition. So there's also places for our students to vote, of course. Our students are going to be able to vote in the Discord. We're going to have a poll put up there. And then if you are watching this and you're like, I don't want to type in a YouTube comment, you can go on to our socials at Instagram and things like that. So no worry there. Those audience winners will also win a prize. I'm sure it's going to be like a cup of coffee, a cat. I am happy to send my cat to you. He is not on my good list right now. But anyways, let's continue. Tonight, we're going to start with our team Saren. Okay. Our Saren is consisting of Eli Adams and Ben Steven. And Ben wasn't able to be here with us tonight. He had a work emergency. So such a sweetheart, he went ahead and he recorded in advance his part of it. So let me go ahead and share the screen and I will get Ben's piece going. All right. Sharing the sound, always an important part. Okay, take it away, Ben.
Hi everyone, my name is Ben and I'll be presenting my portion of the project. So in this project, we're trying to identify NBA player archetypes using 2023 to 2024 season data. And we accomplish this by using a method called clustering, which categorize these players based on overall contributions without relying on predefined labels. So to start, we cleaned the data to focus on meaningful features. So for example, we dropped 2 point percentages since um, this metric can be derived from other metrics within the data set, such as 2 point attempts and 2 point shots actually made. We also remove columns like position and team because they don't reflect a player's performance. Next, we converted per game averages within the data set to total season stats to better capture a player's overall impact for the entirety of a season rather than just their impact during individual games. And then additionally, we aggregated player stats for those players who played on multiple teams during one season, which ensures that we analyze their total contribution for the season and not just for a particular team. Moving on to EDA, we plotted frequency distributions for each numerical column within the data set, and we observed key trends in the data, such as that most stats were heavily skewed toward lower values, which highlights the disparity between star players and role players. Like, for example, players like LeBron James score a lot, while the majority of NBA players score significantly less, and that's reflected here within these distributions. We also made a heat map to find any strong correlations between certain features. So, for instance, we found that total minutes played correlates highly with a lot of scoring metrics, which makes sense because if you're in the game for longer, you have more opportunities to contribute and raise your stats up. And then before clustering, we scaled the features to ensure that all the stats contributed equally. So stats like total points have a much larger range than other stats like blocks or steals. And we wanted to scale these features so that when we apply the k-means algorithm, it's not biased towards um, a stat with a larger range and a stat that has a lower range. So for clustering, we use the k-means algorithm. But first we applied principal component analysis to simplify the data set. And we found that by reducing the data to 5 components, we still retain 96% of the original information, which was good because our goal was to retain at least 95%. And then to find the optimal number of clusters, we used the elbow method and silhouette score. And the elbow method showed where additional clusters no longer improves the grouping significantly. And the silhouette score helped us confirm that 6 clusters offered the clear separation between groups. And then we plotted these clusters on a 2D graph, and I'm going to pass it on to Eli to explain what we found or key characteristics that we found within each of these clusters. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Eli. Let me get this up. Does that look good? Okay. So now we have to classify each archetype. So the first cluster, we found that they were the losers of the majority. They had the lowest points overall. They had the highest turnovers, so that's like they lose the ball to the other team. And just basically someone you don't want on your team when you have all the others to look at. Cluster one, we called the sneaky archer. They were really good at keeping the ball. They have pretty average being in the game and being out of the game, but they're mainly known for being able to snipe across the whole court. So that's where we got the sneaky archer from. Cluster two is the substitute. Another name for this could have been the average player, um, as they don't have super high scores, but also not super low scores. They're just a good person to even out the team. Cluster 3, we found that they were like the helping hand of the group. They were really reliable when the team needed to make free throws. Their defense was good, and just kind of like the average player, but it's someone that you can rely on more. Cluster 4 was the rebounder. So we could count on them to get the ball. We can count on them to ensure that our ball stays in the field more often. It's just really good defense and good at keeping the team together. In Cluster 5, we called the MVP. They were in the game the longest throughout their seasons, throughout all of their games. And they also have the highest point total average across the whole games. So now that we've clustered them, we're doing the bonus task now, which was to make a team of 15 under the salary cap of $140 million. So first, to do that, we need to find their salary somewhere. So here's the code I did to web scrape from hoopshype.com. I got their salaries here. And this is a very small portion of it, but just so you could see, we got their names along with their salary cap. But at first, when I saw this, I was really surprised because, that's a lot of money and we only have 140 million. So we can't do a lot of the best players that we see up the top here. So just to test it out, I merged that money with the whole database just to see if it worked. And it did. So I moved on to each cluster individually. As you can see here. And just an example so you can see it worked. This is just cluster 1's head. So you can see the top 5 here. Now we're finding the best team. So first I set the limits. So we can't break 140 million salary cap. And it has to be 15 players. And I set this up how there has to be 2 from each archetype that we're using. That way it's diverse, because otherwise it would only do MVPs and sneaky archers. We wouldn't have any of the good, well-rounded teammates. So here's the first part of my select team function. Here's the explanation for it. So first off, I made sure there's 2 each, just like I said before. Next, I set parameters for each cluster. So for the sneaky snipers, I wanted to find the people that had the highest 3-point average successes. MVPs, who scored the most out of the MVPs. Helping hands, who helped the most. Rebounders, the amount of time that they stayed in, since the majority of the rebounders were good at rebounding. And then substitute, I left that alone because that was mainly to bring down the salary so we could stay under the 140 million. And then after sorting, I selected the top 2 from each archetype so that it stays balanced, but we're also getting the best team we can. Then here is the next part of the select function, select team. And here's the explanation for it. I wanted to make sure that I got the best players, even though we have a pretty cheap salary overall when looking at all the best players and how expensive they are. And yep. And then here is us using the function. I removed cluster 0 because we don't want any losers on our team. And here is, just so I can see, I'm moving the Zoom thing over. Here is the selected team. The top 15 players we could find within our price range. And yes, there are some pretty expensive players in there, but like I said, we wanted a good team. So, oh my gosh, move this so I could read it. Okay, so here's a breakdown. So first off, from archetype 1, the sneaky archers, we got Buddy Hield and Stephen Curry. I don't watch basketball, so those guys might be good. Those guys might not be good on TV, but yeah. So these were just like the parameters we set. They are really good at 3-pointing, shooting, and they are both pretty expensive. Lucky Brendan and Isaiah Joe from Archetype 2. They were pretty solid throughout all of their games, and just good players. And archetype 3, they were helping, they were rebounding, they were protecting, keeping the team together. Archetype 4, rebounding as well and staying in the game really well. And then these two were just to bring the salary down a little bit. Final team, I think we got a pretty good balance from each archetype, and we had a pretty good diversified team. This was our ending salary for the team, so we still have a little bit left over. And yeah, that's our project.
All right. Thank you so much. I think my favorite part of the entire presentation is when you're like, here's Stephen Curry is one of the players on our team. He could be good. I don't really know. And I'm
Oh,
over
is
here
he
like, are
cool?
you kidding? He's like the male Caitlin Clark. He's like so good. All right. So some quick questions. I love, just real quick, I love that you showed us the code that you guys actually wrote for the different calculations and how you were rendering it. That's always just fascinating to me. I think a lot of people see these end result presentations and these wonderful graphs and don't realize how much coding is going on behind the scenes. And so I always love when teams are able to share some of that. So thank you. I guess my first question is just kind of around how did you find the whole experience, right? Like, did you feel like it was what you had hoped it would be in terms of like working with a team across time zones in such a short time frame?
Well, as you probably know, there were 4 of us, but it was just the 2 of us, so that was a little annoying. But
Yeah.
I think it was really cool. Throughout the course, we only work alone, so it's really cool to get insider information to talk about things we like and dislike about the course. It's just it's something that I really enjoyed doing and helped me a lot.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things I love most about all of these competitions is it can be a really like, individual path, right? And any online
Yeah.
coursework and doing these things really creates a greater community because now you can be like, what did you see? And, I'm on sprint 4. Did you see that? I didn't even understand what the photo review was talking about. It can be really nice to have that network built up. How would you say you are like, how do you feel like, I know you came under budget, which is very, very commendable, since your budget was so large.
Yeah, pretty low.
But how, yeah, how did you guys feel like your results? Like, did you feel satisfied with the result? Is there anything maybe you'd go back and change or do more of if you had more time?
I feel pretty satisfied. The way I set up the function is it would be easy to change in the future. Like if I
Mm,
want to go back to it and be like, hey, our salary's more reasonable now, so I could get much better players and you know maybe even add more archetypes. But I
yeah,
think it was pretty good. I think we got a good team. Clearly, one of our members was good, according to you.
yeah, clearly. Well, thank you so very much. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to just put forward all this effort, but then also come on tonight and share it with us. So that is Team Saren with Eli Adams and Benjamin Steven. And so now we are going to go on to the Dream Team Makers. There we go. That team is Brian Rivers, Matt Melby, Christopher Luecki. I don't know why I have your middle name, Chris. So sorry. Um, going full name on you. Christopher Luecki and Jasmine Wynn.
Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, ma'am. You are all set to go.
Okay. And we're good here.
Let's make that full screen if we can.
Does that block out anything?
It does, but I can still also, there you go. You might want to move your presenter notes to a different monitor if you've got it.
Um, how about that? If that is able. Oh, you can see that.
Yes.
Is that better? And I get really nervous, so I'm gonna just not share my face really quick.
I think you are good to go. Why don't you go ahead and take it away?
Okay, so we are the Dream Team makers, and our project is on assembling a dream team using the NBA player archetypes. So the overarching goal of this was to create a 15-player team with a salary cap of 140 million. My screen is not going to the next slide.
Of course it's not.
Um,
All right. So let's close out those presenter notes down at the bottom, maybe. If you, oh,
they're no longer on the screen, so
oh, well, why don't you go ahead and stop sharing and let's try to reshare.
okay.
Happens all the time.
Let's see.
Chris, did you have a thought?
Yeah, Chris, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, just in case you're not able to work out why it is that it's not moving on to the next slide, I did notice an icon that seems to allow you to move on to the next one.
Okay.
I'll jump in again if we need to do it that way.
Oh, there you go. Can you see that?
I don't see anything just yet.
It worked while we were doing some test runs.
It sure did. That's how this is. It always is like this.
Let's see.
You just take your time and figure it out. Whenever, so at the end of sprints, we always do these lovely sprint reviews
Can you
for
see that?
for our leadership, and inevitably always the tech issues during that time. So happens all to everyone.
Any chance I may jump in and share what I had in mind?
Yeah.
All right. Jasmine, if you hover your mouse over to the bottom left corner, I noticed that a number popped up. Exactly.
Okay.
So if need be, it looks like you can switch slides using that method.
I wonder if I can also, I want you guys to be able to see can you see that?
Yes, we
Yes,
can.
we can see it.
Okay, better?
Yeah, full screen.
Okay. So we are the Dream Team makers, and our project was on assembling a dream team using NBA player archetypes. So the overarching goal of this was to assemble a team of 15 players while maintaining the $140 million cap. So the project overview, we researched data sets and cleaned them, conducted exploratory data analysis, performed feature engineering, and then build and assess the machine learning models that you'll see later on. So as a team, we decided that if we use stats for the most recent season, they would just come out better. So here are the stats that were used in our project. So we have regular season stats, playoff season, and then the salaries. So in the regular season stats, we began working with this data set of 735 rows. And this is for players all across the NBA. Following that, we turned our attention to the playoff data set. Since the playoffs consist of only 16 teams, 8 from each conference, the data set is smaller, but is still crucial when you are in high stakes games. So with this, we were able to interpret the data. And then because it was so hard to read from the beginning, we cleaned it up. We separated the columns just to make it more readable and easier on the eyes. This is the NBA salary data set. We worked with 600 salaries from here. As you can see, it has the rank, the player, and then their salaries. And the data set is organized by the players listed with highest paid to the lowest paid in the NBA. And now we are going to move on to Chris's part. I have to reshare my screen because he is not Chris, I'm so sorry. For Brian's part, he's not here, but I'm going to share my screen for it. And then, can you see this?
Yes, we can.
Okay, let's play it. And I can make it bigger.
Oh, I apologize, Jasmine. I'm seeing the slide, but I'm not seeing the video of Brian.
I wonder if I have to stop share and then reshare. Again, I'm so sorry for these technical difficulties that were worked out before, and now they don't work. How about now?
We can see it crystal clear.
During the exploratory data analysis process, the goal was to identify the most significant features to guide our clustering and archetype definitions. I started with scoring distribution during the regular season, seeing that most players could get between 5 and 10 points, but struggled to get more than 25. This trend continued in the scoring distribution during the playoffs. The graph overall had a more similar curve. Then I went to the correlation heat map of key player metrics, offensive and defensive, during the regular season and during the playoffs to make sure that they coincided with each other and they looked pretty similar. After that, I went to make an average performance metrics by position graph. This gave me the visualization that centers could grab more rebounds and point guards and shooting guards could score at a higher clip. After that, I used K-means to make clusters in the 2D PCA space, giving me 5 different archetypes shown on a graph. And then afterwards, I graphed the metrics by each of these player archetypes. None of these completely defined just yet, but visualize that cluster 2 could score at a much higher clip than all of these other clusters, and so on and so forth. These archetypes were more heavily defined in Matt's portion of this project.
Okay. And that is Brian's part. And then I'm going to reshare my screen because my team members will go off of that. And can you guys see this?
Not seeing anything yet.
Not yet.
That? Nothing?
Nothing yet.
No, ma'am.
Let's see. How about now?
There we have it.
Okay.
Okay. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I'm Matt. I'm going to be quickly running you through our player archetypes and the engineered features of our data set. The archetypes we came up with here define our dream team, and they're as follows. Basically, the stars are the powerhouse players. These are superstars with high scoring and assist numbers, as well as strong rebounding and three-point percentages. Then we have the shields, who are basically walls on the backside of the court. They show strong defensive rebounding, steals, and shot blocking ability. Then we have the snipers, who are outside the arch, teardrop, and ice rope executioners. These boast exceptional three-point and effective field goal percentage. Then we have the jacks, which are insert anywhere players. They complement any lineup, tend to rock above average metrics across the board on both sides of the court. Then we also have the bench players. These are basically subs. They're low minute players. They come into the game strategically when the starters need a rest, essentially. Next slide, please, Jasmine. Oh, we went one too far. There we go. And so for feature engineering, we engineered 6 extra features not included in the original data set. Did this to help round out the robustness of our model architecture. Most of these are pretty self-explanatory, save perhaps the last one, which is the value point system. So I'll just describe that real quick. The value point system is the Danny Miles value point system. It's a player ranking system developed by Coach Danny Miles of Oregon Tech. It's a metric used at both the collegiate and professional level to quantify a player's overall efficiency on the court. A value point of 1 is considered average, while anything north of 2 is considered elite. I'll hand this over to Chris now to deliver the rundown of model architecture and performance, as well as how we compiled our dream team.
Thank you, Matt. After our 5 archetypes were defined, I built a machine learning model for each one by following 2 steps. Step number 1, I used a technique named SMOTE to deal with the class imbalances that we had to deal with in all of our target columns. And I also used the metrics that you're seeing on this slide to assess the performance of the machine learning models, especially how they compared to the dummy classifiers that we used as baseline models. Next slide. For those who don't already know, what SMUT does is it identifies the minority class and uses rows from the minority class to create new rows for that class, thereby allowing me to handle the class imbalance. And in turn, this allowed me to create machine learning models that received excellent scores. Speaking of those scores, next slide. I'm happy to say that all 5 of the models acquired outstanding F1 and ROC AUC scores. I don't have time to show you the results for all 5 of them, but as an example, these are the results from the Jack of all trades classifier model, and I'm happy to inform you all that all 4 of them acquired approximately as good, if not even better, F1 and ROC AUC scores. Next slide. At the start of our presentation, Jasmine said that our overarching goal was to assemble a 15-player team. And to provide some extra details, some extra characteristics that we were looking for, we really wanted there to be 3 players of each archetype. We wanted to be below that $150 million cap. And we're looking to recruit some young blood on our team. Because after all, on average, the younger players are cheaper to hire. And on average, they're willing to commit to the team for a longer time. Next slide. I know you're all dying to know who was it that made the final cut, and these are the individuals who made that cut. I'm happy to say not only did we successfully acquire 3 players for each archetype, but we were also able to assemble a team such that the total team salary is way below that cap of 140 million. And that concludes our presentation.
Holy moly. I'm in the wrong business. Clearly I need to go and be a basketball star. All right, so let's that was really great. I think you guys did a wonderful job. I have questions that I want to chat about. One question that I wanted to ask, and this is kind of just open to anyone on the team, is really like, how did you feel like the coursework that you're learning aligns with the work that you do for these code puddings?
So I can speak for my experience. I started this program in March, and I am not flying through it, but I am learning a good amount as we are now in November. And being able to collaborate with a team after learning by yourself, and just bounce ideas off of each other, one, but also be able to see from a different perspective why different methods of code is being used versus what you would do yourself is very helpful. So, Chris, do you want to
Thank you. Chris, what's up?
To add on to that, I think that the TripleTen course did a great job of preparing at least myself for this kind of task. I agree 100% with Jasmine that it's really nice to have the opportunity to transition from working and studying on your own to replicating real world context, getting to work with others, getting to solve a problem where the problem is really open-ended and there's no one clear path to take to solve it.
Yeah, I think again that's just more evidence that everyone should try these, even if they're nervous and scared, because it's new. So Matt, let me ask you a question, just in terms of your team dynamics, right? You guys had a full 4 members there across the country. How did you guys figure out how to synchronize and kind of divvy up the work there?
Well, we were lucky in the fact that 2 of us were there were 2 people in one time zone and 2 people in another time zone, so that worked out
That's
pretty
great.
well. So we didn't have to hustle too much to get like everybody on a call. And everybody's been, all 4 of us, aside from Brian having a work emergency this evening, we're all very responsive and showed up when we needed to show up, and did the work we needed to do. So I thought it worked really fluidly. Chris, this is his second one of these, so he really kind of took the reins and like guided us through this whole week. So we appreciate him a lot for that.
So Jasmine, I can see from the chat that the user My Place is going to get you a new PC set up. So congratulations on that.
Thanks.
I just we're all here to witness it. So you're gonna have to like report back and let us know if that came through.
Oh, my mom, my dad, my brother, his wife, my cousins, all in different states.
I love it. It's the best part about the remote stuff, honestly. Is really just we're all here together. But Jasmine, I'm going to have my final question go to you because this is your first time. And so to viewers at home, Jasmine was very kind in jumping in, even though she was very nervous because this is her first time doing something like this. And I'm sure we all remember the first time that we had our code puddings or our code jams, and like it can be a lot, right? Especially when you're trying to balance like actual work, real life, and then learning new skills, right? So Jasmine, what would you say is a good tip for other students, that are in the same program that are looking to join the code pudding next time we have it, but aren't quite sure?
Honestly, just crank it out. And I know it sounds so silly, but 9 months is going to go by regardless of whether you do the program or not, regardless of whether you're studying or not, or doing the work or not. So just do it. Because in 9 months, you can have a certification, you can have all the access to so many jobs, all the people that you meet throughout this program. And honestly, it's just really nice. It's been really rewarding.
Oh, that's great.
My success manager, Elvis, honestly, I will be honest about this. He really made me do it. I thought I would have missed the deadline, and he, I believe, messaged you and said, please add her to this. So I am very appreciative of him for pushing me into taking that first step, because one, presenting is very hard, but two, speaking publicly while everybody's watching on stuff that you have done and they have no idea is very difficult for me. So I'm very happy about where I've gotten since I started.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear. I'm glad to hear too that our success managers are doing what they're supposed to, right? Like helping our students be successful. That's
He
kind of
didn't really give me a choice. So
Elvis, you're the king. All right. So that is going to conclude our presentations. That was the Dream Team Makers with Brian Rivers, Matt Melby, Chris Lewicki, and Jasmine Nguyen. So from all of us here at TripleTen and our November Code Pudding, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much on the YouTubes for sticking around and supporting all of our presenters tonight. Thank you again for all the presenters for coming out and having such courage to really just take risks and show us what you're working through and what you're learning, even when you're not sure you can. Even when I am sure I can, it takes a lot of courage to get up here and do this. And so thank you guys so very much. Again, for the people who are curious about winners, because we all like winners. Remember, Eli said we don't want any losers on our team. So the winners are going to go ahead and be announced in Discord and Insta and all our socials on November 22nd. Please make sure, if you are a student and you're watching this, to check your Discord for the poll for audience votes. And then if you are watching in the YouTubes, we're gathering votes there, same within the socials as well. I want to send a special thanks to everyone who helps organize this behind the scenes. So Daniel, Camilo, Natasha, Alina, Olivia, Ulia, Daniela, Nadia, and of course my cat Sharkbait. Jasmine is obviously a crowd favorite. So, what I'm learning from this, though, is the real sleeper agent here is family. We all need to get our families on YouTube more. I'm calling my Aunt Vicky to get her on so that she can shout me out while I'm presenting. All right. Thank you guys again so much for joining us. I really am impressed with the amount of work that you guys are able to put together in such a thoughtful way with such beautiful narratives in 4 or 5 days. It's unbelievable the amount of work you guys can put together. So again, my name is Tiffany Hall. You can find me at Tiffany Coates on Instagram. You can find my cat probably trying to get into the cabinets again because we put child locks on them. So, from all of us at TripleTen, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great night.